During the year 1953, the 12-ton yacht Petula sailed from England to Dakar in West Africa. We were 3 scientists, 2 marine biologists and a meteorologist. Our plan was to leave Dakar and drift across the Atlantic to the West Indies. In Dakar, we built a small raft to tow behind the yacht. The purpose of our voyage was to travel slowly and quietly across the ocean without disturbing or frightening the marine life, and the object was to collect information on the animals that live close to the sea surface. The raft was to give us a platform for underwater observations. We passed the island of Gorée, the westerly tip of Africa, and set out for the West Indies. The Petula's drift followed the course of the North Equatorial Current, running from Africa to America, and our speed along the route, using only the jib, was 1 knot. The ship's position was important for charting our observations. We had no radio and so relied on the chronometer for our longitude. Every 6 hours we hauled in the plankton net. All this time the raft was towing astern, attached to the Petula by the ship's anchor chain. Gradually, our store of plankton samples increased until eventually we had nearly 300. With so many plankton samples, careful logging was essential. On such a long voyage, we had to guard against deficiency diseases, especially scurvy. We kept healthy mostly on tinned and dehydrated food. Cooking was a burden we all shared, and to reduce the labour, we chose to eat only twice a day. Many animals were found and caught right at the surface. Goose barnacles of the Lepas genus. Most fish showed no fear of our drifting yacht, came alongside quite freely. This is the Dorado, Coryphena. The Dorado grows quite large. It's a very fast swimmer and feeds almost entirely on flying fish. See the powerful tail and single dorsal fin. There goes a frigate bird. They never settle on the sea, those birds. And the second one there. A tropic bird has come to have a look at us. See the long tail. Dorado again, powerful jumper. The bottlenose dolphins of television fame, Tursiops. Not having a radio, we were glad to get a message back to our families via the Portuguese liner Santa Maria. She'd kindly stopped to see if we needed assistance. Soon she left us alone with 2,000 miles still to go. Meteorological observations were part of our 6-hourly routine. The meteorologist takes air and wet bulb temperatures. Sea temperature. wind direction, wind speed. Now, a visit to the raft for sea temperatures at graded depths. Clipped along the pole were thermometers with heavily lagged bulbs. The meteorologist needed to sit for half an hour, taking average temperatures down to a depth of 2 meters before he pulled the pole up. We kept standard merchant ship observations for the British Meteorological Office as well. That's the fin of the white-tipped shark, Carcharinus longimanus. We determined to try and catch him after a while. He took the bait quite easily, and then the trouble began. Fishing was an important part of our program. This is one of the many triggerfish that surrounded us. They weren't easy to catch, and we found the best way was to spear them. We specially needed fish stomachs to examine the food contents and relate them to the plankton we were catching. One of the flying fish that came aboard. We never caught flying fish on a hook. We found that generally the Dorado kept them away, but eventually quite a number were washed onto the deck. The wings help identification. This is a four-winged fish, Hirundicthes. This struggling fellow turned out to be an isopod parasite, Glossobius, related to the woodlouse. At the same time, we caught one of the filefish family, Stephanolepis. Notice the very small mouth. We are told that these isopod parasites will readily bite your hand if you pick them up, so we treat it cautiously. The camera case was homemade. The cine camera was clockwork driven, and there was a re-wide handle brought outside the case. The open ring sight was a bit crude, and we sometimes got parallax error with it. Our dinghy was a fighter pilot's survival dinghy, a relic of the 1939 war. The Petula's doing well. At the time we took this picture, she was 55 years old. Dorados again. in a big shoal on this day. One had 2 remeras or suckerfish on its belly. Under the raft has become quite a haven. A very active little fish, Elegatis, was one we couldn't catch. Some triggerfish, Canthodermis, and of course Dorados. Like the Dorados, the triggerfish also carry suckerfish of the genus Echinaeus. This genus is not very specific about the kind of fish it attaches to. This curious bird-like flapping of the dorsal and anal fins. Swimming like this, some individual triggerfish followed us for hundreds of miles. Here comes the white-tipped shark again. Look at the elegant reverse dihedral of the pectoral fins. That's a pilot fish, Naucrates, with him, dark and light stripes, and a suckerfish, Remora, behind the first dorsal fin. We were flattered to find that for a time we even had our own pilot fish following the Petula. Did he think we were a big shark? This was a rare sight for us, the Peto, a Canthosibium. It swam right past and didn't stop. Around the raft, this tribe of small, active fish that we hadn't managed to catch, though we tried very hard. In the end, we tried this as a last resort. Well, we failed a number of times using bigger and bigger charges of submarine blasting gelignite until at last we frightened ourselves and gave up. As the voyage lengthened, so the repair work began to increase. At last the passage is ending, and after 12 weeks the island of Barbados is just over the horizon. The Petula had no engine, and we took her into the harbour under sail. Finally, the results of the voyage were published in several scientific reports, and some not so scientific.